So let's put me down here again so that you can actually see this and don't go to the next slide. Okay. So the beginning of Jesus's trials. I say trials because he gets sent to Pilate. He gets sent before the Sanhedrin right now. Well, first the Sanhedrin, then Pilate, and then um, well, there's actually the other ones which we'll touch on when we get to the next chapter, but that will be a Monday thing. So if you'd read with me from verses 53 to 65. They led Jesus away to the high priest, and all the chief priests, the elders, the scribes assembled. Peter followed him at a distance right into the high priest's courtyard. He was sitting with the servants, warming himself by the fire. The chief priests, the whole Sanhedrin, were looking for testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but they could not find any. For many were giving false testimony against him, and the testimonies did not agree. Some stood up and gave false testimony against him, stating, "We heard him say, 'I will destroy this temple made with human hands, and in 3 days I will build another not made by hands.' Yet their testimony did not agree even on this. Then the high priest stood up before them all and questioned Jesus. 'Don't you have an answer to what these men are testifying against you?' But he kept silent and did not answer. Again, the high priest questioned him. 'Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?' 'I am,' said Jesus. 'And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power, coming with the clouds of heaven.' Then the high priest tore his robes and said, 'Why do we still need witnesses? You have heard the blasphemy. What is your decision?' They all condemned him as deserving death. Then some began to spit on him, to blindfold him, and to beat him, saying, 'Pharisee, the temple prophesied. The temple servants also took him and slapped him.'" Pharisee. Oh, that was a lot without taking a breath. Now, an important aspect and an aspect that is continuing with this is just the fact that something that we mentioned actually in church today was, certain things that are to come, and Jesus and God in the Old Testament, and Jesus continues with this, with the fact that, when he speaks, it does not immediately come. When in 2 chapters ago, let me get um, the exact moment that it is said, or is it this chapter? It was this chapter. Earlier this chapter, Peter's denial being predicted, and so the fact that they touched on this, and also touched on the fact that we'll be touching on Peter's denial, but this is coming because Peter. The question that you have to wonder, which is again something that we cannot answer, but an interesting question to have: would he have still denied if he did not follow, and trying to see what was going on? And I used this picture as the best imagery I could find. I don't know why they didn't have any decent photos, maybe from Passion of the Christ, or even that movie that came out not too. Oh no, that was quite a while ago, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, a movie called Son of Man, actually Son of God. Sorry, which was a good movie, pretty good. And with each of these things, though, I think it's important that we look specifically at the false testimonies, and the fact that, again, very similar to that of those who either misunderstand or uh, just choose to misquote him. The destroying of the temple, and the fact that he would have the temple being risen again. And so, um, when you look at that, we must look at let me look at this. Uh, where he cursed the fig tree. Um, I thought that's where it was. Now I can't remember. But he does mention that in 3 days, the temple would be risen again, but it is Christ is the living temple, and Christ is the body. And one of the things that I find very important to study, very important to just remember. Yes, we have the church, we have Inglewood, we have there's First Baptist down the road. There's other churches, I'm sure, in the area that I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, and so on and so forth. There's many churches, but we as believers, we are the body of Christ. We are the body of Christ. That's a weird way of putting that. We are the body of the church. We are the church, and that was but you know we don't need a physical church to do what we need to do. We don't need that. And I think it's important that they spent all those years following the instructions of the temple, and Jews were no. The Gentiles were allowed in this section with the Jews, and then the Jews were allowed in this specific section of the temple, and then only the priests and the and the and men, priests and men were allowed in this section, and then continuing from there. Because I remember doing research on the temple and the different sections, but once the Christian movement began in Rome, and with everything with Peter, James, and John, and with Paul later on, and with James, the brother of Jesus, and so on. The movement continued, and they didn't have churches; they had the body of believers, and so I find that important. But let's look specifically at the question that the high priest asked. He says, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" I find that interesting how he calls God the Blessed One. I don't know. I just find that interesting when you really dive into that and really look into that part. And he responded, as I read earlier, "I am, and you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming down with clouds of heaven," which is an incredible visual, because that is the second coming. That is the end times. That is what is coming now. Many people, including Pastor Ricky, has stated that we are in the end times, and so that is a very interesting thing to look at. There's a lot of details to many parts of this. The fact that they yelled for blasphemy, the fact that they spat on him, slapped him, blindfolded him, and did so many unspeakable things. Realistically, let's be honest. The fact that they beat him to the point of being unrecognizable, that is something that we should never forget, because that is hard to even fathom. And so, but continuing from what the last video, which, like I said, I just recorded, we will be doing a different type of Genesis study in the coming weeks. Hopefully the books will get here, because I'll be ordering them on Monday when I go into the office. And Mere Christianity, I actually forgot to mention this in the last video, that the study will be done a little bit differently this coming Wednesday, and we'll most likely see, depending on how it goes, continue from there. And I think it will be beneficial. Just being honest, being where I am with the church right now. I really hope that we can continue to grow. This is what I want, just being honest. I want to be able to have our youth grow to the point of um, being bigger and being just not just stronger as in like more people are in the youth, which it would obviously would be awesome, but also most importantly spiritually to be in a good place. And so I'm hoping for that, and that's kind of my honesty right there. We don't know where the Lord will lead us in the coming months, in the coming years, or anything realistically, but we know that the Lord will provide. And that light is so bright on that camera. But that is what I have. And let us get into the very heart wrenching moment of Peter denying Christ in the next video. So I'll see you